You know what they say.
Find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Думаю, это мой случай.
I always admired aircraft.
Это чувство единения с твоей машиной.
The G overloads.
That moment you pass Mach 1.
А этот вид, когда наконец пробиваешься сквозь облака.
Who could dream of anything else?
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take longer to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a night to cut the cake and count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got, 'cause love is running through my veins. Oh, this line can't be tamed. There's fire in my blood.
Чтоб тебе, Серега, не рискуй.
Очень тяжело терять своего ведомого.
Я рядом, доворачивай.
Но еще хуже, если он был твоим другом.
Пуск слева.
Однажды мне уже пришлось через это пройти.
Астра, я Грач 2, Грач 1 подбит.
Я не допущу, чтобы это повторилось.
Hello everyone and welcome to the official preview stream of the upcoming update, Apex Predators. My name is Marcus Boom, you are on the official channel. Hello everyone who is tuning in from all over the world, and special hello to all the streamers also who are currently restreaming this. Let's get right into it, shall we? So, today we have quite a show for you. Keep in mind, this is all a preview that is work in progress, so anything that you see on the stream may not come out in this way in the final update, so take everything with a grain of salt. Today we have tier 8 planes, we have a possible battle rating increase for planes as well, we have new very powerful aircraft missiles with new technology, we have drop tanks. We also have a new voice lines for naval. We have, well, drones can now mark stuff for the entire team. And we have a new ground map and much more to show off. Let's start off then with the Americans. We're going to go through each nation in order. And if we have some time at the end of the stream, we will answer, or at least try to answer some questions and show everything once again. The Americans, of course, are going to get the F-16A. You have seen it in the trailer. You have seen it also in the dev blog that was released earlier today or yesterday. And it is here and soon playable on the dev server as well. The F-16A is one of the early variants of the F-16. Not the most powerful, but in terms of War Thunder, one of the most powerful aircraft in the game. It is a small and light fighter, but with a playstyle somewhat similar to the F-5E, if you have flown that plane before, but with about double the engine output. This engine is very powerful, 9,000 kilograms of force on a full afterburner thrust, which on a light airframe like this does mean you get a pretty spicy power-to-weight ratio, which makes it very good for dogfighting. It also has access to a surprising amount of ordnance that you can carry. First of all, we have drop tanks also now in the game. I will show you how these function in a bit. You will need it for the F-16 because on full afterburner this thing guzzles fuel like there is no tomorrow. Let's go into the modification so you can have a look. Now, this is intended to be a air superiority fighter, but this does not mean that you cannot take it out into mixed battles with access to guided laser bombs as well as AGM-65B models. You can also bring just a pure air-to-air loadout with up to 6 AIM-9Ls. These are all aspects and very good for dogfighting. I'm going to take this thing out into a quick test drive to give you a rough idea of the performance. Again, keep in mind this is all work in progress, so the flight model may not be entirely finished just yet. So refrain any comments from that for the time being. But I will show you the general performance and how it flies. Now, we don't have a cockpit just yet. And there we are, F-16 in the game. You do have access to pulse Doppler radar, which is pretty good. No IRST. You can also select regular radar if you so desire, depending on the situation. Even though you do have pulse Doppler radar, this variant will not have access to radar missiles like the M7 Sparrow. This is purely going to carry infrared air-to-air missiles, the Sidewinder series. Takeoff is pretty quick to go. You can also see on the HUD on the top left where the fuel counter is. We have a secondary number there, which is for the fuel tank. Now, the fuel tank is jettisonable. If you run out of fuel, the fuel tank will drop automatically and you will switch over to your main tanks that are within the aircraft itself. But you can also set a keybind to drop the additional fuel tank manually if you so desire, in case you are going into combat, for example, and it will drop and switch over to your main fuel tanks in the aircraft, giving you a bit more performance if you're not carrying a big, heavy and draggy fuel tank around with you anymore. Flight performance is pretty decent. You can pull a decent amount of G-force as well. So far, keep in mind again, flight model is a bit work in progress, but I haven't... Okay, never mind, I have been able to pull the wings now. Of course, it happens exactly as we stream and not before, because that's always what happens on these streams. Anyway. AIM-9Ls are one of my favorite missiles in the game. This kind of missile makes aircraft that usually wouldn't be that great into amazing fighters, like for example the Harrier GR7 and the F-104S TAF for the Italians. Both aircraft that in terms of pure flight performance aren't really amazing, but the AIM-9L makes a huge difference in their effectiveness. And the F-16, well, gets them as well, but on top of that also gets amazing flight performance. The power-to-weight ratio of this thing is really nothing to laugh at. You can do some pretty good vertical maneuvers, horizontal maneuvers. Of course, try not to roll at the same time that you're pulling, otherwise you may break your wings off. But it is going to be an incredibly powerful close-range dogfighter. All right. There are more variants of the S-16 as well, not for the US tree, but we do have one for the Israeli tree as well, which I'm showing off on the stream in a second. Let's move on to another aircraft, which you have seen, of course, a dev blog for as well. In case you want to speed up your progression to the F-16, and keep in mind, this is where the F-16 is lying currently after the F-5E at rank 8. And also the F-14 has also been moved to rank 8. You can get yourself the A6E TRAM, a new rank 7 premium aircraft, currently on a pre-order. This is a strike aircraft. It is not really intended for air-to-air combat, given that it doesn't have any inbuilt cannons, but you do get access to guided bombs, incendiary bombs, lots of rockets, gun pods, lots of dumb bombs even. This is a good cargo truck for attacking ground targets, essentially. Which does not mean, however, that it is entirely defenseless, because you also get 4 A9Ls, once again, making this actually not bad at air combat. Keep in mind, it will not be the most maneuverable aircraft. It is also rather slow, with a top speed of 644 kilometers in this current configuration. But with the A9Ls, it should be able to hold its own. And of course, it also gets access to flares. Let's take it out into a quick test drive, shall we? Keep in mind, of course, if we have some time at the end of the stream, we will try and answer some of your questions, but keep in mind, we cannot answer everything. Until now, up until then, please hold your questions. We are going to try and go through this at a reasonable pace. All right, this is the cockpit of the A6. It's a nice twin-seater design. You have your co-pilot over here. Nice detail. Very detailed instrument panel as well. There, for example, that white screen is your targeting camera for your guided bombs. You have radar. However, I don't believe you have access to pulse Doppler radar in this specific aircraft, so keep that in mind. Let's have a takeoff. It is not going to be the fastest aircraft again. It is a ground attacker, kind of small, kind of light, but with a decent ordnance amount. Currently, I'm carrying the AIM-9Ls, of course, but you can also carry guided bombs. One thing to note with this particular aircraft, the laser pointer is mounted here at the front of the nose, but it doesn't quite have the range of what you would be used to, for example, on the T-Alt pod on the Harrier GR7, which means that if you try to keep a lock on a target, as you fly over them, you will lose the radar lock, at least as it currently stands. So the guided bomb effectiveness is not quite on the same level as something like the Harrier GR7 would be, and you do not have access to AGM-65s, but for general static ground targets, this should be a nice little boost to your RP and Civil Alliance gain. And of course, you got flares as well. Next up, we have a premium Stryker and an update to the currently existing Stryker. Two of my favorite vehicles in the game, actually. The M1128 Stryker Wolfpack is a new Rank VII premium tank that you will be able to buy in the upcoming update. It is basically identical to the Tech Tree version, but with a nice camo netting and some chains on the wheels, which don't actually do anything in the game, but they look very nice. It has access to thermal vision, scout UAV, of course, as well as a 105mm gun with M833 APFSDS. And you may notice that it doesn't have the cage that the Tech Tree M1128 Stryker has, which has been a point of contention for a while, given that the effectiveness of the cage in War Thunder isn't the greatest, whilst it adds 2 tons to your weight. So you will be happy to hear that you will be able to remove the slat armor kit on the Tech Tree version as well, making it a lot lighter and as such more maneuverable, without really sacrificing too much in terms of survivability. I also want to show you in a test drive real quick the new capability added to the UAV Scout drone. As you may know, UAVs have been in the game for a while now. The recon drones have been used quite effectively by squad members, but up until now, you could only really spot targets for your own squad with the squad marker. Now, in the new update, the Scout UAV, the recon drone, will get a new function. You can see on the bottom, item is not currently with an image, but you will be able to mark targets for your entire team. The little blue flag, placeholder of course, will appear to the entirety of your own team, not just your squad mates, which should make these even more useful in gathering intelligence and awareness for your team. You can of course also try and spot targets, although I do not believe that the marker will move together with the tank, so keep that in mind when you are applying the marker. Next up we have Chat, are you a fan of the Centurion AVRE? That's quite old premium now, with a massive 165mm hash launcher. Well, you will be glad to hear that the Americans are getting their own version of that. The M728 is a, I believe, an M48 or an M60 based variant. I believe it's based on the M68 too, with the same hash launching cannon as the Centurion AVRE. You also get, of course, a plow to do some construction work with, and even a little crane at the back, which doesn't do anything in the game, but was used for general craning operations and recovery in real life. Armor failures, of course, are a placeholder, keep that in mind. This should be a little bit more survivable than the Centurion AVRE, even though it does not have the ERA plates attached. The cannon's performance is basically identical. It's a licensed-built version of the AVRE's cannon, including the shell, 203mm of hash penetration, 165mm gun, with 23mm of TNT equivalent. Let's give it a little test drive, shall we? I'm personally really looking forward to this one. I like big boom derp cannons. Alright, we are in the game. Traverse is alright. Again, the gun is not stabilized, much like on the the Centurion AVRE. It also suffers from the same problem of very low bullet velocity, meaning that you need to aim quite a bit up if you want to hit targets at further range. And again, with the Centurion, this variant also does not have access to a laser rangefinder, which would make it a lot easier to use the gun. The gun wasn't really intended for use in combat operations, or at least not against even infantry, but much less so against armored targets. It was more intended to destroy bunkers, fortifications, and clear out mines with the mine plow. You also have a very protruding crane at the back, which I don't believe will be a part of the damage model, but could give away your position, or if you just want to roll around like this, you can as well. The machine gun on the top turret is a 50 cal. It is independent from the rest of the turret, which may be useful in certain situations. You can use it to spot targets with, and the penetration should be enough to deal with some lighter armored targets as well. I can't get over how stubby the cannon on this thing is. I love it. This will be coming in the next update as a premium vehicle as well. I believe a Golden Eagles vehicle, but keep in mind that's work in progress. And you can look forward to that. Next up, we have a PT boat, the PT-812. This is a new tech tree variant coming for the Americans at Battle 3.0, and the main feature is the twin 40mm Bofors cannons, no torpedoes whatsoever, and a 81mm grenade launcher here on the side. We also have some new voice lines for naval in the works that I'll be showing you in a bit with the Germans, because it's a bit more expressive. So look forward to that. Speaking of Germans, let's move on to them. Germany, this update is getting a new premium Rank VII aircraft as well. We also have a rank aircraft in the works for Germany, but it's not quite ready for showing just yet. As a premium Rank VII aircraft, you can buy the MiG-21 Lazur-M. This is functionally identical to the MiG-21 bis Sau that is in the German tech tree. It is a MiG-21. It has a slightly different avionics system, but other than that, functionally it is identical with the same ordnance. Our 60 MKs, up to 6 of them. The MiG-21 bis, of course, being a reliable fighter. It's not the most competitive at top tier these days, especially with the F-14 and the F-16 now coming out in the next update, but it is still a dependable missile slinger with plenty of missiles and, of course, access also to flares. Up to 64 of them in total. Next up, we have a new model for the Ferdinand, which is over here. We did, of course, release the Elephant not too long ago in a battle pass, and now it's also time for the base tech tree Ferdinand, one of the oldest vehicles in the game, to also get a model update, making it look much crisper and more up to date with the current standards of the game. I like this little primer colored gun shield over here. The Germans are also getting a... the Germans are also getting a new boat. The V990. This is a post-war German Democratic Republic vehicle, so East Germany, with access to a twin 23mm cannon in the back. This is very similar to the one that's found on that low-tier Soviet SPAA tank. And 23mm cannons are quite good overall. I can, however, see that this one is going to be a bit more difficult to play, given that you don't have any armament on the front, which means that if you're driving straight into an enemy to, for example, release your torpedoes, which are found in these tubes along the hull of the ship, you will not be able to fire your guns. Now, let's actually show off the new crew voice lines. I hope the audio will be coming through. So, new audio voice lines. Okay, new audio voice lines for ships in general. We are reworking the system. There are now different types of stress levels that will be reflected in the way that the crew speaks. And there's also different types of crew, different voice actors doing different things. So, for example, we have now a commander, an officer, and a sailor voice lines. The commander gives orders about the ship's engine and rudder. So if I try to go forwards here, quickly pause the music. Okay, it is a bit on the low side. Let me just quickly adjust the volume a little bit so I can hear it a little bit better. Alright, hopefully this is not going to be too loud. Okay, now attempt it again. There we go. So, the commander will give indications of the controls that you are putting on the ship. The officer will report about the ship's damage conditions if you are damaged, and will also report the detected enemies. And then you also have the sailor, which is going to be the one that's going to be most panicked, because the sailor will indicate spotted enemies, incoming attacks like that aircraft that is coming in, as well as incoming damage. Depending on the situation, the voice lines will change inflection. So if you are at no danger at all with no enemies detected, which is not this case, the crew will be quite calm, just regular commands, like the commands to increase speed, decrease speed, turn. That last voice line that you're hearing about, Alarm, Luftangriff, is the stressed version. So if you have incoming enemies, the crew will sound much more stressed and much more agitated. And you also have an intermediate level, which is when you spot targets, when you have incoming attacks. Thank you. Which will be somewhere in between. All right. These voice lines will be coming to more nations as well. Currently, we also have them for the US and the UK, but the US doesn't have their own voice line just yet. We're working on that, and hopefully it will be ready by the release of the update. Next up, we have... Next up, we have the Soviet Union with a very sought-after plane. Ladies and gentlemen, the MiG-29 is finally coming to War Thunder. Probably, and this is my own personal opinion, one of the best looking jets in the game, period. It is very nice looking. This is also one of the most advanced, if not the most advanced jet aircraft that we currently have in the game. It has rank 8, of course. It has flares. It has a 30mm gun, so slight upgrade in firepower over the previous MiG-23 models, with 150 rounds, and also access to APHE, which should be pretty good for attacking both aircraft and in a limited capacity ground targets. Of course, you do not want to be doing that with only 150 rounds, but you can. You also have access to very advanced missiles. Now, little spoiler here or something like that. We are not quite sure yet if we will release the MiG-29 with the R-73 missiles. You're going to see in a bit why. These are incredibly powerful, and the MiG-29 is already an incredibly powerful airframe. It will depend on the feedback of you, the players, on the dev server, whether or not the MiG-29 will launch with these missiles, or whether it will only launch with the R60Ms. The main difference between the R60M and the R73 is, well, basically everything. It can pull a lot harder, it can track a lot better, and it has access to HMD targeting, helmet-mounted display targeting. You can actually look at an enemy without pointing your nose, the nose of your aircraft, at them and lock and launch a missile, which is incredibly useful in a dogfight. You also have access to a new R27 missile. One is a radar version, one is a IR version. These are slightly upgraded R24s. Not too much better, but also with access to HMD currently as it stands. You don't have any kind of guided ground ordnance. You still want to be stuck with the MiG-27K for that. But you can bring some dumb bombs and a few rockets as well if you so desire. Let's quickly do a, well, demonstration, shall we? I will be bringing this into arcade mode just to give you an idea of the capability of this R73 missile. You can carry up to 6 of them, or if you want to, you can also carry 2 of the R27s and 4 extra of the R73. Let's see if we can get a quick match in arcade mode here real quick. The HMD system is going to be quite interesting and very powerful. Again, this is why the developers are looking for your feedback on whether or not these missiles will come together with the MiG-29 in the upcoming update. So let's go into a quick battle and see what we can do. Other than the missiles, the flight performance of the MiG-29 is also very, very good. The engines are incredibly powerful, with the slight caveat that it does guzzle fuel, which I should probably actually bring more out of. With the full afterburner on, your fuel will go away very, very, very quickly. You can see on the top left corner right now, the fuel consumption increase as our engines warm up. Currently, we do not have a cockpit just yet. In terms of IR of radar modes, you have SRC-PD. You also have IRST, which is the infrared search and track, which you can use in conjunction with your infrared missiles without getting detected by enemy RWR. Let's switch to our missiles. And now this is the main difference. You can actually look around and lock a target this way. So you can get a proper lock here. Come on. Alternatively, you can actually fly in one direction and look at the other to get a missile lock off that way, which does allow you to launch missiles off the bore, off the direction of a flight. And this also means I can actually quickly lock on to multiple targets very effectively. Now keep in mind, I'm basically stretching out the range of these missiles right now. At maximum, you want to be using these around 4 to 3 kilometers. And of course, these AR are not doing any kind of evasive maneuvers, nor are they flaring. The R73 is still going to be quite susceptible to enemy flares, much like the R60 is. There is not much difference in there, so aware players will be able to defeat these missiles. But unaware players, and well, I guess for the first 3 weeks also whilst players are adjusting, it is going to be interesting to see how these missiles will perform. And then of course you have your flares at the top. You have some decent maneuverability, although I am in arcade mode right now, keep that in mind. Let's quickly do a test flight in RB mode actually, so I can give you an idea of the flight performance in the proper RB mode as well. I will also take out the R27T version of the missile if I can. By the way, it looks absolutely amazing. You have some animated, this is not a bug by the way, this is actually intentional, this is how it was in real life. You have a door at the engine intake which opens up in flight as you go faster. Let's go on test flight. Now, currently as it stands, the MiG-29 does not have a fuel tank, a droppable fuel tank. Keep that in mind. Which means you are very much limited by your own self-control in how long you are going to be staying in the fight. Right now I have fuel consumption off, but from some flight testing I did earlier in a RB match, an estimated RB match, in about 4 to 5 minutes at full afterburner, you are out of fuel. You can just about full afterburn from the runway to the enemy runway and then back and land with 0 fuel. That is something that you have to keep in mind and will open up the opportunity to other players with, for example, AGM-65s to take you down on the airfield itself. 9G at subsonic right now. Let's see how quickly we can get this thing up in sea level. My plane is fully upgraded and we are playing in realistic mode right now. Although I should probably get rid of these missiles. There we go. To go just a little bit faster. In testing, I was able to make about Mach 1.3 at sea level. And due to the amazing engine performance of these two engines, it is also able to maintain its energy very well, as well as climb extremely well. So far doing Mach 1.2. At this point, there are some aircraft in the game who would be breaking off their wings. Let's now go into a straight climb. 10G overload at Mach 1.2 still. And look at that. The engine performance and energy retention of this plane as it currently stands, again, work in progress, flight model may not be finished, is quite powerful. I was able to get up to 5 kilometers altitude before even falling below Mach 1. That is very impressive. And at these speeds, it's still decently maneuverable. Of course, as you go higher, the air becomes a lot thinner. So you do not in general want to be at too high altitudes with the jet if you are looking for dogfights and not getting, well, destroyed by enemy radar missiles. But in terms of dogfighting, and especially together with the capabilities of the missiles in being able to target stuff that's not in its direct line of sight in the nose, it is going to be one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful dogfighter in the game, together with the American and Israeli F-16s. In case you want to speed up your progression towards the MiG-29, you have access to this, the MiG-23ML Premium Pre-Order right now. It is a Rank III MiG-23, very similar to the MiG-23MLD. In fact, the engine, as far as I'm aware, is identical with the same output, and also the identical loadout options. Again, you have laser-guided missiles, which I guess you could use in ground RB, but not too effectively. This is more intended to be a fighter with the venerable old R60M and the R24R missiles or R24T missiles, or if you want to, just a full loadout of R60Ms, as well as, of course, because it is necessary at this tier, flares. Next up, we have the Strela 10M. This is a gap filler in the SPAA capabilities of the Soviet factory, sitting right here between the ZSU-23 and the 2S6 Tunguska. This is a SAM launcher with access to the Strela missile, which is quite maneuverable. The missiles are not, of course, insane missiles like you find on the MiG-29. These do pull about 20 Gs, but they are maneuverable enough to deal with enemy aircraft coming in who are not aware of you. Locking range is decent. You can use this against helicopters as well, although I do not believe they're going to be quite as resistant to flares as the US manpads would be. And we can quickly check it out on the test drive to see if we can hit anything. Due to the quick locking of the missiles, you can get 2 missiles off pretty quickly. This one did not quite track properly, but if I lead it a little bit... That was a little bit too much. There we go, that is better. So yeah, if you have multiple enemy aircraft coming in, you can actually get up to 4 missiles off pretty quickly with the 4 tubes and have a reload of spares. But keep in mind, this vehicle does not currently have radar, which means it is going to be a little bit harder to actually spot enemy targets coming in. Okay, moving on to the UK, we have the Tornado. I know all the Brits have been very much looking forward to this plane. This is the Tornado GR1, the ground attack version of the Tornado, which means this will not be competitive with the F-16 or the MiG-29 in air-to-air combats, but it does allow you to bring quite a variety of ground ordnance and act as a strategic bomber, so to speak. with access to guided bombs and dumb bombs, as well as a pair of AIM-9Ls to defend yourself with in air-to-air combat. We can quickly give this a test flight just to give it a, well, a good shot at performance. Very interesting in the Tornado, by the way. It has a 27mm cannon with access to APHE, which may actually be very good in both air combat and ground attack. Here is the cockpit with the instrument panel. Very interesting also, it has access to reverse thrust, so if you want to, you can actually just drive backwards. Of course, we do not want to do that right now. We are going to try and fly forwards. It is also a swing wing design, which I'm not sure if I actually have my keybind set up for that right now. I do not. Of course, it will adjust the wing angle automatically, depending on your speed, to give you the best possible performance, both in turning radius and high speed. I'll keep in mind, of course, the Tornado is not meant to be a very maneuverable dogfighter. This is not going to be able to hang with the F-16 or the MiG-29 in terms of turning radius. And it's this particular version even less so, given that it's a ground attack version. In fact, I can show you. Roll rate is alright for a top tier jet, not the best. And the turn radius is not the best. The Tornado is very much meant to fly in a straight line and be fast. Get in fast, drop your ordnance, get out fast before you get hit by enemy missiles or cannons. Let's also check out the cannon. We do have access to a ballistic computer. With the APHE shell, if you hit some unaware targets, you should be able to do some decent damage. And let's quickly go back into the hangar to actually show off the stats of the cannon belt as well. So by default, you already have access to the APHE shell. It is very fast, 1025 meters per second. That's actually very, very fast. 23 grams of explosive filler, not bad at all, with 48 millimeters of penetration. APHE can be quite useful against some more heavily armored enemy fighters, or even just general heavy fighters if you enemy fighters if you hit stuff like the engines or the fuel tanks. So it should be pretty decent in general air-to-air combat, assuming you're not looking for a dogfight. Very important. All right. To facilitate your progression towards the Tornado GR1, we also have a Rank VII premium plane for the UK, the F-4EJ. This is very much similar to the F-4EJ in the US tech tree. It does not have an onboard 20mm cannon. This 20mm cannon is a gun pod and can be removed if you so wish. And in terms of ordnance, you have access to very much similar loadout options. Although with the ability to mount the Skyflash radar missile, which is very maneuverable. And the radar on the F-4EJ should also be powerful enough to support the full capabilities of this missile. Sadly, on secondaries, you only have the AIM-9G, which are not the most powerful IR missiles, but you can carry a lot of ordnance overall. And together with the gun pod, also do some limited dogfighting. What you may be a little bit more interested in, perhaps, is the new squadron vehicle, the Harrier FRS.1. This is in performance very similar to the Harrier GR3, but with the huge upgrade of being able to mount the AIM-9L Sidewinder missile. Now, currently it only carries 2, but as far as I'm aware, it should be carrying 4 by the time the update launches. It was just not quite ready yet. And as we have seen with the Harrier GR7, having a Harrier with 4 AIM-9Ls is quite a powerful combination. Now, of course, unlike the Harrier GR7, it doesn't have anywhere near the amount of flares. You only have 60, and you do not have the option of mounting the missile mounts with the extra flare pods. You also don't have any kind of guided ground ordnance. But the Harrier GR3 with AIM-9L should be pretty decent and help you out in general combat. Now, given that this is also the first squadron vehicle Harrier, it will make it quite accessible to the general player. It takes about 3 months of just playing the game to get this thing unlocked. And however, VTOL is always very fun in situations outside of just pure PvP combat. You can use this in custom battles and have some fun with your friends as well. I quite like the Harriers. Since we are with the Harrier, I also want to show you the new ground map that we have in the works called Golden Quarry currently. Let me set it up. This is going to be a new ground map for, I believe, mostly the higher tiers, given its its loadout. I can give you a quick look here at the mini-map, if you so desire. To all the German viewers, this one has a big bugger, which I think you're going to be quite a fan of. Okay, I cannot show you the map currently, I'm afraid. We do not have access to launching it. Apologies for that, but you will hopefully be able to check it out on the dev server when that is public. Okay, next up we have a new premium tank as well for the Brits, the Khalid. Now this one is interesting. It's a Jordanian vehicle. This is essentially a chieftain with a upgraded 1200 horsepower engine. This is an RB mode, this is not an arcade mode, which should make this tank a lot quicker to zip around than the regular chieftains that you see in the tech tree. Other than that, it still has the same cannon with access to the same shells. APFSDS with 320mm of penetration, no access to APFSDS, no laser rangefinder, no thermal vision. This is purely a chieftain with a bit more grunt and a bit more mobility. Next up we have Japan. You have seen the devlog, of course. The Sub-12 is a zippy little armored personnel carrier. The chassis is very much based on the chassis you find on the Type 75 tanks that we have in the game. But it carries a 20mm RH202 at the top at a relatively low battery rating. It is a decently mobile vehicle. You can zip around pretty well, although it is rather boxy, so keep in mind you will be a magnet for enemy shots, and also since you don't have any kind of armor, really, you will be very easy to kill. This is how the crew layout looks. All three of the crew is right at the front, with one sitting in the gunner position. Interestingly enough, it is actually an open gunner position, so let's quickly give it a test drive to confirm. You also have access to the APFSDS shell with 66mm of penetration, which should be enough to deal with most tanks, at least from the sides, that you find at this battery rating, although you may have some issues with more heavily armored tanks. But thankfully, due to the high fire rate, you should be able to go for the cannon barrels of enemy vehicles. Mobility is alright, it's a pretty light vehicle with a decent engine. Especially compared to the other World War II stuff you may see at this battery rating, it's going to be a little bit more CB. The reverse speed is a little bit more limited. 12 km per hour is enough, kind of, to get you out of some situations, but not the best. So you do want to plan ahead where you are maneuvering your vehicle before you engage in combat. And of course, gun has a nice high fire rate and should be able to deal with enemy tracks and enemy cannon barrels without any issues. And if you get on the sides, on the flanks, with the APFSDS shell, you should also be able to take down the entire tank in one burst. Keep in mind though, the ammo belt is only 100 rounds large, and the reload takes a few seconds, so you don't want to be caught flat out. Of course, the cannon can also elevate quite high, so you can use it as an SPAA as well. In fact, it can go very, very high, up to... I believe that's almost 90 degrees. Not quite 90 degrees, but not too far off, which should give you an ability similar to the R3 T20, for example, in dealing with enemy aircraft coming in. We also have an update for the current top-tier jet for the Japanese, the F-4EJ Kai. The F-4EJ Kai has been moved to Rank VIII and has gotten access to the A9L Sidewinder, which is actually a huge upgrade. So you can now carry the AIM-7F together with the AIM-9L Sidewinder all in one plane. I believe, is this the only Phantom with AIM-9Ls? I believe it may be. Of course, one of my favorite planes from a while ago, and with the upgrade even better so. We are working on both a Rank VII premium aircraft and a Rank VIII top tier aircraft for Japan. It's not quite ready yet. We're not entirely sure if it will be ready for this update, but rest assured, Japan will be getting something when it is ready. Okay, next up we have China with a new Rank VII premium jet as well, which is the J7D. This is, in its essence, a MiG-21 bis, which does have access to a unique cockpit, translated to Chinese, and a Chinese copy of the Magach 1 R550 missile, the PL7. These are basically identical stats to the French R550 Magach 1, Rear aspect only, not all aspects, keep that in mind. And you can carry a grand total of 4 of them. The magic missiles are some of the best in the game. They're up there, maybe slightly outclassed, of course, by the AIM-9L. And on the platform of a MiG-21 bis, these should be quite nice. We also have, of course, a Rank 7 Premium and a Rank 8 Tech Tree aircraft in the works for China. Not quite ready yet, although we are a bit more confident that that will be ready by the time the update releases. We also have an updated model for the IS-2. Much like the Ferdinand, the model has been updated. In the last update, we had an improved visual model of the previous IS-2 versions. Now the 1944 version, both for China and for the Soviet Union, will also be updated to make it a bit more up to standard with the current days of graphics. Moving to Italy, we have the new Rank 7 Premium jet, the F-104S TAF. This is a basically identical F-104S in Turkish use with access to the same ordnance, AIM-9Ps, as well as your cannon. Keep in mind that the AIM-9Ps are not all aspect, they are very similar to AIM-9Js, which in the case of the F-104 is a little bit of an issue since you can't rely on the maneuverability of the aircraft itself to slot yourself behind the enemy, so you need to do fast passes and try and engage enemies who are not aware of your presence. And this will help you out in the research of a Rank 8 top-tier tech tree aircraft that we are also working on for Italy, which we can't announce just yet. It's not ready, but hopefully it should appear on the dev server sometime soon. Yes. We also have, as is tradition with the Italians, we have a very derpy low-rank boy, the CM52. It's a truck. It's a very old truck, unfinished textures, work in progress. It has access to the same mount, quad 50 caliber mount as the American M16 SPAA system, and it looks absolutely hilarious. Now keep in mind, given that the cab is quite tall, you will not be able to fire your 50 cals directly up front, but at this low battery rating with plenty of ammo and with 50 cals, you may actually be able to do some decent damage against lighter armored targets in something that looks like this. I think it's beautiful. Okay, moving on to France. France is getting a long-awaited tank, the AMX-32-105. This is a tech tree variant with access to a laser rangefinder, I believe, yes. Laser rangefinder, thermals, and most importantly, a stabilized gun. If you have played the French before, you know, of course, that stabilized guns are kind of rare to find in the French tech tree. This one is going to change that. It will bring a stabilized 105mm gun with access to the OBOFL-105 F1 APFSDS shell. Together with the laser rangefinder and the thermal vision, this should be a very good all-round backup to your 9.0 and 9.3 French lineups and beyond that as well. We are also working on a Rank 7 Premium aircraft and a Rank 8 tech tree aircraft for the French. Again, they're not quite ready to show just yet, but hopefully they will be ready to play on the dev server. Moving on to Sweden, or rather I should say the Finns. This is a T-55 modernized by the Finnish army to include a new APFSDS shell, the M1128. These are the stats, and let me quickly do this so you can see it a little bit better. Very fast shell, decent penetration, still has access to APCBC. You also have access to the laser rangefinder, but not to thermal vision. Although at 8.3, honestly, that is not a big deal. And it slots in right here in the Finnish subtree line in the Swedish tech tree, right after the T-54, just before the T-72 M1. At 8.3, this will be fleshing out the already pretty good Swedish 8.3 lineup together with the SDRV-103C, IKV-105, all the good stuff. And should be, well, in your hands very soon in the upcoming update. We are also working on a premium aircraft, and I'm repeating myself for every nation essentially. We are working on aircraft as well for the Swedes. Not quite ready to show just yet, but you can expect it hopefully soon on the dev server or in the update if all goes well. Keep in mind, maybe it will not be finished and we'll have to wait until the next update for Sweden to get their top rank aircraft as well. And finally, we have Israel. Israel getting also a F-16A variant. The main difference between this one and the US one is that the Israeli one will not have access to guided bombs, which honestly you don't need. You still have access to the AGM-65s, and you have access to the AIM-9L missiles as well. And of course, if you want to see how you can put on the fuel tank, it is right here. Oh, it's actually, okay. This one doesn't actually have the fuel tank, interestingly enough. That may be another downgrade to keep in mind, given that the US one does have the fuel tank and the F-16 does guzzle fuel quite a lot. On that, the camo scheme is a little bit nicer in my opinion. I don't quite like the blank camo scheme of the US F-16. Since I was showing it anyway, let's quickly show you how you can put on the fuel tank. You go into secondary weapons, you can create a preset, and right in the middle you have the option of adding a drop tank together with any other ordnance that you so desire, which allows you to also just look like this, if you just want to be a long-range gunfighter for whatever reason. The Israelis are also getting a Rank VII premium that is actually ready to show. We have the Kfir Canard at a bat rating 11.0 currently, rank 7. This is going to be very similar to the... it's a bit more similar to the Kfir C2. I think it's a Kfir C1 with very similar loadout options as well. Only access to AIM-9Gs, only 2 of them, so it's not the best air-to-air loadout in terms of missiles, but can be used quite effectively as a ground attacker with access to a decent amount of bombs. And in terms of looks, this is how it looks. It has these tiny little canards here on the front intake mount. The Kfir, of course, is based on the French Mirage. This should be decently maneuverable with a decent power to weight ratio, but the missiles are a bit of a drawback. Keep that in mind. And of course, this will help you out as well in researching the F-16. And finally, we have the Magach 7C. This is a very heavily modified M60. So much so it barely resembles an AM60 anymore. Has the 105mm Harrier cannon with the following shells: M426, 430mm of penetration, as well as hash and of course stock heat. You also have access to thermal vision for the gunner and a laser rangefinder. Armor values are not quite complete just yet, but can give you a quick look. You have the additional composite screens, which should act as nearer and generally improve your protection a little bit over the base M60. Although keep in mind, APFSDS will still be a big issue, given also the ammunition loadouts if you take a full loadout. 55 tons, 908 horsepower, with a fully upgraded vehicle is not the best of battle ratings. The M60s already are a bit sluggish. This one with even more heavy armor added onto it will not be too much better, but I believe the engine is slightly upgraded over the base M60 as well. And that is basically it for all the vehicles we have to show today. Let me quickly go over the tech trees again. In the meantime, if you have some questions, leave them in the chat. We may have about 5 minutes left to answer some of them. So I will ask our chat mods to collect some questions from the chat now. F-16A is after the F-5E in the tech tree. Logical, it is basically the successor of the F-5E. The A6E TRAM, of course, rank 7. Again, reminder, the M1128 does now have the ability of removing the caged armor. For Germany, we had a premium MiG-21. The MiG-29 in the tech tree will be right after the MiG-23 MLD. Again, very logical. The Strela will occupy the position in between the ZT-23 and the 2S6, filling in this rather large gap here with access to some SAM missiles. The Tornado will be found in the tech tree after the Buccaneer. Keep in mind, this is the ground attack version. It is not the fighter version. And you have access to the Squadron Sea Harrier. For Japan, the sub will be right after the M42. It is classified as a SPAA, although of course you can use it as a fast harassing tank destroyer if you so wish, which fills in a little bit of a gap here in capabilities between the 40mm Bofors. China has the J7D. We are also working on a top tier jet, but I cannot disclose which one that is just yet. For Italy, we have the truck. I love myself the truck. It's right after the AS-42 at 2.3, and it's absolutely beautiful. For France, the AMX-32 will be found after the AMX-50 and just before the 120mm version of the AMX-32. Again, this is a stabilized tank, very important. For Sweden, the T-55 will be found in between the T-54 and the T-72 in the Finnish line. Currently at 8.3, this should be quite nice for that battle rating lineout. And of course, the F-16 for the Israeli Tech tree will be found after the Kfir C7. Okay, let's take a look at some question. Dev server today. Perhaps we are planning to open a dev server this weekend, but we can't go out guarantee just yet. The developers are hard at work. So keep an eye out on our forums and Reddit on more announcements if the dev server opens today or throughout this weekend. Can we see the Israeli tech tree for tanks? Yes, you can. Here it is. The Magach 7C, unsurprisingly, is in the Magach line. 9.3 as well, a little bit more modernized. How many flares does the F-16 get? The F-16 gets 60 flares. Will the Tornado get flares? Yes, the Tornado will get flares. Although it doesn't currently work too well, this may still be a work in progress. Show the F-16 and MiG-29 engine outputs. I can. The F-16 is roughly about double the combined output of the twin engines of the F-5E. There you go. And the MiG-29, I haven't actually checked the engine output of this one yet, but each engine produces a massive, almost 7,000 kilograms of force on afterburner. Times 2 gives you a very, very powerful thrust. How many flares does the MiG-23ML have? The MiG-23ML, which is found here, has a total of 72 large flares. This should actually be pretty decent. How are we looking with the chat? Let's try quickly. Can I maybe show off the map again? I will attempt to, at least so. Keep in mind, we have a new ground map in the works. It just may not be quite ready just yet. Okay, maybe this will work. Okay, this does work. So good. We can actually quickly show off the ground map before we end the stream. I see our chat mods are having some trouble keeping up with all the questions in the chat right now. This is the map layout. I'm currently playing in battle mode. The caps for the domination mode I've shown earlier in the stream. If you are playing on YouTube, you can actually go back and see it there. Let's take out a tornado. What happened to the Magach 7C stock APFSDS, the devlog mentioned? Keep in mind, it is currently work in progress, so it may get up by the update. It may just not have been ready to show just yet. Not the best weather for this. Let's go down. Interesting to note, by the way, this map is in a very mountainous region, as you can see, which should actually allow for both jet aircraft and helicopters to use terrain to their advantages. Even the helicopter spawn over here is behind a defilade, which does allow them to not immediately die as they spawn. The terrain reminds me a little bit of Afghanistan, but the altitude isn't quite there if the HUD is to be believed. 720 meters is not the highest right now. And this is the map. German mains, watch out. We have a big bugger. A very, very big bugger. This location is a quarry. The buildings are actually quite similar to the abandoned factory map that we have already in the game, although of course in a different desert environment and with some different assets. In domination mode, one of the domination variants has a capture zone around the bagger, which may be interesting. Of course, you have some in the middle as well, and probably on this side of the river as well. The river does look shallow enough to be able to traverse with a tank, but I haven't tested it myself, so you will have to check that out yourself. Okay, and that is, I'm afraid, it for our time. Thank you very much for watching this preview. Again, we are planning on opening up our dev server today, but take that with a grain of salt because we may have to delay the deployment of the dev server. In any case, all of the stuff we showed off today and more, you will be able to test out yourself on a upcoming dev server, and soon, of course, on the update as well. Thank you very much for watching the stream. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and we shall see you around. Goodbye.